RK has just announced the worldwide release of the debut album Smith Kotzen by Iron Maiden's Adrian Smith and the fabulous Richie Kotzen, formerly of Poison, Mr. Big and Winery Dogs. The announcement comes on the back of the release of the video for the album's first single, Taking My Chances. Recorded on the Turks and Caicos Islands in February 2020, produced by Richie and Adrian and mixed by Kevin Shirley, this 9-track opus is a consummate collaboration between these two highly respected musicians who co-wrote all the songs and also share lead vocal and trade-off on guitar and bass duties throughout the record. Exploding with powerful melodies and harmonies, the album embodies the spirited attitude of 70s classic rock with a melting pot of influences ranging from blues, hard rock, traditional R&B and more, blending the pair's backgrounds and life experiences to result in a thoroughly contemporary sound. The record features special guest performances by Adrian's fellow Iron Maiden bandmate Nico McBrain on drums for the track Solar Fire, and Richie's long-standing friend and touring partner Tal Bergman on drums for You Don't Know Me, I Want to Stay Until Tomorrow, with Richie picking up the sticks for the other 5 songs. With Taking My Chances having been greeted with enormous excitement and acclaim by rock fans and media worldwide on its release in December, Smith Kotzen fully cements the new partnership between these two extraordinary talents and sets the scene for this innovative and exciting collaboration to light up 2021 and the world of rock music beyond. I'm so excited to be joined here today by the fabulous Richie Kotzen. Richie, say hello.
Hey man, thanks for having me on your program. It's great to be here.
You must have met so many great guitar players in your time. How did you first meet Adrian, and what drew you to decide to make an album?
Well, it must have been about 9 or 10 years ago. I mean, maybe more. It was quite a while ago. And there's a spot in Los Angeles that I used to go to a lot in the 90s and early 2000s. And it was really like the place for musicians to go. Tiny little bar called the Sunset Marquee. They used to call it the Whiskey Bar. And it was inside of a hotel. I used to go in there all the time. And it was real small. You know, you had to know the guy at the door. He had to know you to get in, that kind of thing. And all the musicians would hang out in there. So one night, my buddy and I are out, and we decided to go in. And Adrian's wife Natalie's in there, and somehow they started talking, and he started saying that I was a musician and this and that, and so we all started talking, and she revealed that her husband was in Iron Maiden, Adrian Smith. And at that point I was like, oh wow, that's all I wanted to talk about is Adrian. So I'm a huge fan. First hard rock concert I ever went to was Iron Maiden. You know, I used to listen to Number of the Beast every morning before school. I mean, literally, I had 2 shirts I'd wear to school. One was the Number of the Beast, and the other one was a Black Sabbath shirt.
Wow.
You know? And so I was, you know, so she said, well, he's coming to town. I'll let you know, we'll get together. So ultimately, we got together, and it just evolved into a friendship. You know, my wife Julia and Natalie are friends now, and I'm friends with Adrian. And so over the course of our friendship, they would have parties at the house like around the holidays, and they'd have jam sessions. You know, go over there, have a few drinks, and eventually everybody'd end up in the room where all the guitars are and what have you. And we play covers and hang out. And then in more recent times, after one of these jam sessions, somebody said that we ought to try to write a song together. And then that's how it started. So the first song I remember us working on is the song Running, which is on the record. That's the first thing I think we did.
Was there pressure to sort of write the album, or did it kind of write itself? I wanted to dig into the songwriting process a bit. When someone says you got to write 9 or 10 tracks for an album, what's your process for that?
Well, you know, we didn't really think about it that much. You know, we had the idea just to see what we could do and see what would come out of it. So we never talked about a direction or how many songs you want to do or this or that. We just kind of got into a thing and then realized that we were digging what we were doing, and then we made the record. So we never said, oh, we want to make a blues record or a rock record or a hard rock record. The style just came out of our interaction, basically, I guess you'd call it.
And then timing is everything. What's it like releasing an album in a pandemic? And what challenges did that present?
The album was done before COVID hit. So we were down in Turks and Caicos and everything was done. Like I was telling you before we started recording, I was prepared to go out and do a whole tour. I had 4 continents booked, and Adrian had shows with Iron Maiden. So we finished the record and we thought, let's put it out in March of 2021. And that way in April, we can do some live touring. So we got half of it right. We got the record, got half of it ready. But it's tricky. All we can really do now is stuff like we're doing here, talk about the record. Well, we did do some videos. We did a video for Taking My Chances. They did a great job of making it feel like we were together on Taking My Chances video, but we weren't actually. And so then we did another one that we just put out for the song Running. So those are the kind of things we can do. Unfortunately, we can't tour. I had a couple people hit me up in 2020 about doing like an online, get the guitar, do some songs. For whatever reason, it just didn't excite me to do that. Live to me is live in a room with an audience, people singing along. That's what I equate to live when I think about playing live. So for me to sit in a room here with a guitar, I don't know. I don't really think that makes a lot of sense for me to do that right now. So we're gonna wait. We want to tour live. We want to play the Smith Kotzen stuff live. So hopefully it'll come together and we get a chance to get out there and do it.
And did you record the thing pretty much with a live band? I mean, I know you played drums on 5 of the tracks. So someone said, "Oh, Richie played some drums on it," and you actually played. Well, there's 9 tracks on the album. You played on 5 of them. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So you can't do that live because I can't do 2 things at once. But what I did do on one song was pretty cool. Adrian came in with that riff for Taking My Chances, which is a really cool riff.
Yeah, great riff.
And he was playing. I'm like, that we got to work on that. We need something like that. And everything was set up, mic'd up and everything. So I said, let's try something different. Let me jump behind the drums. I'll put a click track on, and I will play the beat. You play the riff, and then I'm going to go some different places. Like the pre-chorus or a chorus, or a bridge, whatever. So I started jamming with him, and before I did, I said, whatever I do, I'll always go back to the main groove. And when I do that, to go back to the riff. So we set it up, and we just did it, and I recorded it for like 6 minutes until I got tired because I don't have a lot of stamina, on the drums. So came back in, sat down behind the computer and moved some shit around and created kind of a form, and that's how the song came to be. So that song actually did sort of come out of a live jam kind of thing. Parts of that drum beat are included on the final master, and parts of the riff are actually what we did during the jamming. So that was kind of a neat, different kind of approach. I can't really do that when I'm in a studio alone. But then everything else was really, how you would picture 2 guys writing. Hey, I got an idea for a melody. I got this, I got that. One of the things I would do, jump behind the drums. Even if I just played for 4 measures, I can make a loop, and then we could work against that. So, that would go, put a loop out for 4 minutes, and then we can kind of mess around with ideas, and it would kind of evolve out of that. And then I could go back behind the drums and replay a few things, add a few fills and that sort of thing. So it was kind of built like, a little brick by brick, is what I'd say, as opposed to, a band, different story. You got 4 or 5 guys, everybody's got their instrument, but you're talking about a record being made by 2 guitar players. So it's a little different.
It's amazing guitar players that anything ever happens.
Yeah, exactly.
You say brick by brick. So you did a lot of recording in LA and at home studios, then took it down to Turks and Caicos, and it was mixed by Kevin Shirley. Had you worked with Kevin before?
No. You want to hear something funny? I live. Well, I guess I won't reveal exactly where I live, but there's a spot in Malibu that I go to all the time. I don't go there now because of COVID, but we used to go there for happy hour and that sort of thing. And one day there's a guy in there, and I telling my wife, I said, I think that's that guy, that producer, Kevin Shirley. So I pull him up on my phone and Googling. It's him. It's him.
Yeah.
I go say hello, and I think he kind of saw, my phone for a second. It had his picture on there, so it was kind of an awkward kind of moment. But normally, I like to keep everything, keep my hands on everything when I make a record. But this time, I thought, Adrian and I were the only guys in the studio for the most part. We did everything between the two of us: production, playing, drums, bass, this and that. So Adrian brought up Kevin for mixing, and I thought, you know what? That would be awesome. I mean, just get get it out of our hands at this point. We got it all ready to go, and said, let him try and do a track. And so he sent the track back. I had it in my phone, put my headphones on. It sounded slamming, just killer. The drums sounded big, powerful. Toms were up front. Guitars sounded great. And I said, yeah, this is it, man. You got to have this guy just mix the whole thing. Adrian and I produced it, played most of the stuff, and then we sent it off to Australia, and he did his magic with the mixing.
In Australia or in
Yeah.
Turks and Caicos?
No, he mixed it. No, he mixed it at his studio in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and the old days we'd have to send the tape over there. Now we just, we transfer audio files.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
And then so he and then I asked him. I said, "Do you want the Pro Tools sessions?" Because I had all kinds of special effects and reverb sounds and this and that. He goes, "No." He said, "Anything that you want to be a part of it, effect-wise, print that as a separate file." He said, "I just want the audio files as if you were sending me the 24-track masters." And then that way he brings it into an old school, proper mixing desk, and does it, the way we used to mix records, before all this technology took off.
And it's being released on vinyl album.
Look, I got it. I have it right here. Right here it is.
Wow. Are you a big fan of vinyl?
Well, I mean, when I was young, it's all I had, right? We had records and 8-tracks and cassettes. But, I get very stressed out if I have a lot of shit around that I don't need. and I still do. Like, I have tons of pedals and amps. In this house, I've got 87 stringed instruments and 47 guitar amp or bass amp or speaker cabinets. And so I don't have any vinyl. I don't have a record player. I don't even have a CD player hooked up. And at one point, when I moved out here, now we've been here for about 5 years, but the other place I lived in that house for over 20 years. And so I brought a bunch of boxes of CDs. I mean, a lot of boxes with CDs in them. And I had them there's a little tiny barn down here at the bottom of the hill. And I had all these boxes of CDs. And I thought, well, you know what? Let me take them up to the house. I'll go through them, see what's in here. And I picked one of them up, and the bottom fell out, and CDs fell all over the place. And I got pissed. I backed my pickup truck up. I got a shovel. I put them all in the back of the truck, drove them down to the trash bin. I threw them all away. I mean, all these fucking CDs, I threw them in the fucking trash. And it was stuff like, good CDs. I mean, stuff that I grew up. I thought, you know what? I have too much stuff. I don't want it in my life. I'm not going to Amoeba Records. I'm not going here. I'm not going there. I'm not taking the time to trade. I just wanted to get the fuck out of here. And so I just threw it all away. So there were a couple CDs that made it that are upstairs in the piece of furniture, but most of them are gone.
Let's talk about trading vocals. You're predominantly a guitar player, but very well known as a singer with Winery Dogs. But what about Adrian? Had he done much singing before, or?
Yeah. I mean, and the good thing about this going in is because we had, year after year, as I told you earlier, had those get-togethers where we jammed, played cover tunes, what have you. I knew what he sounded like, and I knew that he could sing quite well, and I knew that he was a pretty serious blues guy. So when we got in there and started working, I wasn't like wondering, what I'm trying to say? Like I knew we were going to connect on some things, but with the vocals, it was pretty Sometimes it's pretty obvious on who was going to sing what. For the most part, whatever guy came up with the idea, that was the guy that sang it. Like taking my chances, he came in with that riff, and then we opened it up for the verse. Kind of opened it up, simplified it for the verse, and then he had that lyric. I know you, you know me. That and the melody, which led me to come up with the next section. And then so it was just kind of back and forth thing. Same thing with Scars. He had the lyric and the melody for the beginning, and then I came up with the chorus and the bridge melody. I kind of improvised that. To be honest with you, when we got to that section of the song and it was time for me to come up with something to sing, I improvised that section, and then I kept most of it. Actually, there's one or two lines I had to go back and replace because I wasn't singing lyrics. I was just making noise, which is what I do a lot when I write. Like I'll have like a melody and I want to sing something, so I'll just make up some words.
Yeah.
Phonetics, I guess you'd call it. And then I go back. Actually, that leads me to something interesting. The song Solar Fire, I had a vocal on there. I wasn't singing words. I was singing something, but not words. And he goes, sounds like you're saying solar fire. Right. And I said, ooh, that sounds like a cool title. What's that even mean? He said, I don't know. Let's try and write a lyric. So then he came up with a lyric. I had the melody. So that's really how casual the writing was. I liken it to like a polite tennis match where all you're trying to do is just keep a volley going,
And let's talk guitars. You've had a pretty long and fruitful relationship with Fender. Tell us a bit about your signature models, and do you have anything on with them at the moment?
I do, yeah. Now, that the Strat is right here. I got the brown Telecaster everybody knows and loves, but now we have the Stratocaster too, a signature model Strat. Now this one's red, and the white one's been in production in Japan since '96. The Telecaster is available everywhere. No matter where you live, you can get it. But before COVID hit, these were going to go global, so you could get it in Brazil or whatever. Because now if you want it, you got to order it, through Japan. It's expensive, import it. But they were going to go global with it in 2020 or 2021, I guess it was. But COVID messed up all the plans. So now they pushed it back to 2022. So They still make it. You can buy it, but it's just not as easy to get. The Telecaster, you can get it, easy to get. And that's my main one. But I do go back and forth between Strats and Teles, depending on my mood, or really depending on what's closest. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Part I got to walk to get the Telecaster.
Let's talk about amps. And what do you use to record with? And how different is it from what you would use live?
Victory makes my amps for me. And we have a couple models. We've got a 100-watt head that's very much based on like the old 4-input Marshalls, like the Plexi. Yeah. I like those amps because they're very snappy, they're punchy. They're a tube amp, but they have a solid state rectifier, and it gives it a certain attack that I really like. To kind of hit you in the chest kind of thing. But it has some features where you can still get that kind of Fender basement sag out of it if you really want. I'd have to show it to you. There's some knobs on there that you can get that. But it's a strong, loud, powerful amp. Really love it. And then they also make for me a different animal. It's a high gain amp. Very simple. It's just got I have it right here. It's just got a tone knob on it. Hold on, see if I can bring it over. It's little. This thing here, and it's 50 watts or 40 or 50 watts. It's a screaming amp. It's one of those amps that you don't need to use an overdrive pedal. It's got all that gain. But what I've learned over the years, if you want that real clear, clean, loud tone, you need an amp like the other one, the 100-watt that doesn't have a high gain stage, because the high gain stage kind of sucks out some of that, whatever it is. I don't know what it does. It compresses the sound. So what I use live, I've learned, especially if I'm playing a big place, and I learned this with the Winery Dogs because we're a pretty loud band. I can get the sustain that I need out of the pedal, which is my fly rig, and then I can still get the power and the thump out of the amp, the 100-watt amp. Now, in different situations, recording or a smaller venue where I don't play as loud, then I have a different rig for the other amp because I don't really need the overdrive for that amp, you know. But it's a different environment that I use that in. So I have different tools for different jobs.
So you're just sort of a pedal guy, you know, if you need one.
I'll show you here. I got this. This is my pedal, Tech 21.
Right. Yeah.
The Richie Kotzen fly rig, and it's what do they call it? RK5. It's got a lot of features. It's got overdrive. It's got a boost on the overdrive. It's got reverb. It's got a delay, and it also has a Leslie simulator, so you can change the speed of the Leslie.
Right.
It's got a fuzz. You can opt out the overdrive for a fuzz, and you can opt out the boost for a compressor. There's like a little switch there that converts it, right? And then it has a tuner in it. And then the guy that invented the Sans amp built this, so he put a Sans amp in it. And that you can have on or off. That's like a selector. So you're either going to leave it on all the time or leave it off. But where this is clever, let's say I go do a gig somewhere and they give me an amp like a Fender Twin, which is a great amp, but it doesn't break up the same way as, you know, some of the other Fender amps. So I can literally revoice that Fender Twin by using the Sans amp. And I turn that on, and it's got its own tone knobs, but it has its own drive and level in there. So I could I could even do that with like a Roland jazz chorus and revoice the thing with the Sans amp and, you know, make it sound like what I want it to sound like. So this is a pretty cool pedal. And then for the most part, it's, you know, I don't really use much else. Maybe a wah, you know, for some things. I have a flanger in Pro Tools that I like that I stick on every now and then. That's it.
We mentioned it before, but do you have any actual plans to take this thing out on the road yet, or?
That was the plan. Yeah, we were planning on it, but now, you know, we're stuck here because nobody really knows when we can go out. But even such, no one knows under what circumstances. Meaning, are they going to say, oh, you can play a gig, but they can only put, you know, 30-40% of the people in the room? Well, that ain't going to work because the math doesn't work financially, you know. So, you know, a lot of these places where we would be playing, you'd need to have, you know, a certain amount of people in there for everything to make sense. So we got to wait and see. We want to play, you know, we really want to do it. We were planning on doing it, but we got to wait and see what happens here.
So Smith Kotzen going to be an ongoing thing?
I would like to do something. I mean, we had such a good time. And I said before, this is the easiest record that I ever made. I mean, I can't think of an easier collaboration as far as like just try this, try that. I like that. I don't like that. You know, just getting shit done quickly. You know, I mean, when I work alone, you know, I don't have any of those problems because I'd be a nut. I'd be fighting with myself, and I don't do that. So if I'm working alone, I can go really quick and get things where I want them. When you work with people, there's a give and take and this and that, which is great because you get different results. But with Adrian, it was just such a smooth, easy, you know, painless process and successful. And I love the record. It reminds me of one of those old records I would have had when I was a kid. It's exactly what it's supposed to do.
The vocals are great. The guitars obviously are fantastic. It feels to me that there should be a Smith Kotzen 2.
Yeah, I think, you know, hey, I don't see why not. I mean, you know, it just comes down to if we can get in the same room together and write, which, you know, I think we will. You know, he's got a house not far from mine, and we, you know, if he comes back here, you know, we can get together and write some more stuff. I mean, I'd love to do that. So we'll see, you know. It's
been fantastic talking to you. Say good day to Adrian for me when you talk to him. We wish you all the best with this. Hope you can get back on the road ASAP.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, mate. Bye.
Remember that you can't